thank you all for coming. I love the Seafood Nutrition Partnership, what they are doing. And I'm excited to share with you some of the work we've been doing. My background, I started off in retina. When I was in college, my dad had glaucoma. We went to the doctor, and long story short, I devoted my life to research in the eyeball. And that's what I'm going to talk to you, how I started from the eyeballs to the low balls. And I would explain what I mean by that. As you will see up here, like my friend Tom Brenner likes to say, the eyeballs in the eye, you have what we call the omega-3 fatty acids that are derived from fish oil. And these omega-3 fatty acids are elongated into what we now call the very long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids. But then we also found out that whatever is in the eye is in the low balls, the testicles and the sperm. With all apology to the men, don't be blushing. There also you have the very long chain or the DHA-derived fatty acid that we have shown that are important for fertility. And how did I start? Like I said, when I came to the US, I worked with Dr. Gina Anderson. At the time, they just discovered a gene that is called the elongation of very long chain fatty acids 4 gene, ELOVL4. You will see to the right over there. There is a mutation in this gene, and children, by the time they are in their teenage years, they begin to lose vision. So you see the top image over there, the dark red spot we call the macula, the cells are already degenerated. And therefore, whilst the normal vision, you will see in the bottom, you will see those two nice kids, these target patients, end up having a central vision loss. So by the time most of them are in their 30s, they are legally blind. And so my research at the time is to figure out what this gene is doing. When you are a young, naive graduate student, you think it's going to be easy. Within 2 years, you'll get your doctorate. Welcome to nightmare. After 4 or 5 years of trying to figure out the function of this gene, fail. Thank God for Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving 2007, I discovered the function of ELOVL4 and unequivocally demonstrated that what it does, it takes fish oil, DHA, EPA, or arachidonic acid, and elongate them into what we now call the very long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid. These are fatty acids that are 28 all the way to 38 or more carbons that are found in the retina. When we got that, other people also started looking, and they used human donor eyes, and they clearly show that when we are young, we have a lot of this fatty acid, but when you get to the age of Tom Brenner going, Tom, I'll be on you because you're my friend, the VLCP first begin to decrease. But if you have macular degeneration or AMD, your VLCP5 even go much more worse. So there is a connection between these two. But then based off of this discovery, I made this model that everybody uses to define the very long chain polys. So the question is, when I made this discovery in cell culture, is it really happening in vivo in animal models? So we made an animal model where we delete the ELOVL4. When you delete the ELOVL4, you will lose the product. You will not make the very long chain fatty acid. And if it is true that these fatty acids are really important for retinal function, we expect that the animals that we deleted the gene from, they will be blind. Of course, the mice will not tell you, oh, Martin Paul, I am blind. And so what we use what we call electroretinography. What it is you take your either the normal animals that we call the wild type or your deleted animal, in this case, the green ones. The top one, the black one are your normal wild type or normal animals. And you flash a light to these animals in the dark, and if their retina is functioning, they will respond on the computer screen at the top. They will tell the photoreceptors will give you a very beautiful response, as you can see. And we show clearly that the normal animal had really very robust phenotype. They can see very well. But the mutant animals that we deleted the gene in, the sick animals, they are not able to see. So you can see that the lower amplitude in the green signal in those animals. So this clearly shows that these fatty acids are important for the eyeball and for retinal health. We are working on that, and I am very grateful for Dr. Alan Ramale and Chiffon, who have been collaborating with to see if we can get this fatty acid to restore vision. And that will hopefully be another talk for another day. And thank you, Alan, for coming with your lab members. And while we were doing that, I discovered something, that the animals, we just took one of the copy of the gene, they were not reproducing very well on the graph at the top right over there. You delete a gene, and while the normal animals will produce 5 pups, these guys were only producing about 2 or 3 animals, and was really frustrating. So I'm like, what is going on? And I remember we did a study back in 2010 that we published with Dr. Nakamura, where we had delta-6 desaturases, which is at the top, that make all the precursors for ELOVL4, we deleted it. And what we found out is that in the animals that we delete the gene, their frequency of mating was significantly reduced. You put females in there, they are like, I don't care. And then we're like, how about if you give them DHA, will they shoot? And we give them DHA. So to the top right, a middle panel there, when we gave DHA, all of a sudden these guys became very viral, chasing the females around the cage. So the frequency of mating increased significantly. And we look at their sperm quality, and sperm quality was fantastic. Their sperm quality also improved, which means that DHA is important for fertility in that study we said. But I'm like, how about the very long chain polys? And you look at sperm quality in this animal. So when we look at the chromatogram of those animals, we saw that the DHA we gave them was also elongated to the very long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids. And they also produce steroids. That makes sense. Now they have all the good hormones. Now the females look attractive to them, and they are doing what they are supposed to do. So based off of that, I'm like, how about human? What happens? And remember, we all started from the sea. You can argue about that. We start from the sea, and we are swimmers. Male fertility is all about swimming. The better swimmer you are in terms of the sperm, you find your target. And so, and even when the sperm meets the egg, the acrosomal reaction, this all depend on fatty acids. So we started looking at male fertility to see how does loss of this fatty acid affect male fertility. And in my study, I found out that if you look in that blacks, there are some nice sperm. There is also some ghost sperms at the background over there, as you can see. And so I did some more study, and I found out that a study that was published in 2017 and eventually redid in 2022 has clearly shown that within the past 40 years, there is 50% reduction in sperm count, and it's continuing decreasing. So sperm volumes are going down. In other words, those of us who like to see statistics and graphical pictures, this is what is happening. In the 70s, when my father and my grandfathers are shooting, they are producing about 101 sperm particles per mil. But then my generation, we are only producing about 49. So what is really happening? So what we did is we did a study where in the US, the incidence of male fertility is increasing. And the reason why there is decline in male factor infertility is not really understood. And so I'm like, well, in my animal, the only thing that is happening is a dietary factor. So can diet or the loss of this fatty acid be contributing to this pathology? So I found also this study that was done in Spain, where males that grow up along the sea, they eat a lot of seafood. They tend to have a bigger size testicle and produce more volume of sperm than if you are just taking arachidonic acid. It begins to shrink your testicles and reduce your sperm count. And remember, our diet is now so high in omega-6 fatty acids. So we decided to do a study at our university where we have clinicians that were treating male fertile infertility patients. We enrolled 70 young men, and then we did sperm analysis. We collected sperm. We determined the quality, how fast did the sperm swim, and then we did our lipid analysis. And what we found out clearly is the more VLCP4 you have, the better swimmers you are going to have. They swim really fast. And they are not just a better swimmers, it also correlated very positively with the sperm count. So more sperm you have, it also positively correlates with the amount of VLCP that you have, which clearly shows that this DHA derived. So when we find out, like, oh, really? Could it be coming from DHA? So we did fatty acid analysis, and you can see the 22, 6, and 3 is there, and that is what is contributing to this very beautiful correlation that very long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids are critical for the next generation. And you need to have a very good sperm. We published this paper with Dr. Latasha, Craig, Richard, and others who did a really very wonderful job on this publication. When we published it, one of our colleagues had about 200 sperm. They did a study called the Amigo study of unexplained semen, people who were having problem reproducing. So we went back and then we said, okay, they were treating them in the clinic, and we analyzed the sperm and asked the question, when you are treated with this diet and you have more VLCP4, can you give birth, live birth? And what we found is that the more VLCP4 you have, the better swimmers you have 72% more likely chance of giving birth than if you have a lower level of VLCP4. We published this paper also recently, which gets to the core of the fact that very long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids are essential for normal sperm structure and function, and that when they are not there, you're going to have a problem with your eyeballs and your low balls. So what do we do? Now we know the facts. You are going to hear from Susan, preterm birth. If we are having low fertility count to begin with and we are having a low birth preterm problems, it's going to be a problem. So we need to do something about it. There are so many factors that could be contributing to this. But for me today, my message to you is about diet. The American diet had become so N6 rich. For this audience today, I am calling us to embrace seafood. Welcome seafood. I was talking to Joe yesterday, and Joe told me in his clinic he gives fish oil to patients, and he warns them, when you start taking this fish oil, you are going to have adverse effect. Your hair is going to grow, your skin is going to grow, and you're going to be looking beautiful. Your mood will change. You'll be happy all the time. And they left. Joe, what did they say? They came back later. They said, Doc, you made a big mistake. You did not warn us of another side effect, which is even more important. As soon as I started taking this fish oil, I started getting honey and looking for honey. VLCP4 are important for fertility. It changes your mood and puts you in the mood. So my take-home message for you today is that VLCP4 are important for our brain and retina function. They are important for our fertility and for the next generation. So let's embrace seafood intake. And another story I'm not telling you today, it also support the skin health because when we knock out this gene, the animals also do have a skin pathology. I wanted to study skin and my professor, Dr. Anderson, told me much about drawing your tentacles and focus. And so I focus on this. So my message to us today, take seafood. And guess what? I'm not saying take the candle over there, but when you take seafood, you can light that candle. And like the Frenchman will say, ah, ma chérie, bien ici. Thank you.
Comment to add with regard to gender differences. And the patients alerted me that they became more amorous, and it is, yes, in resulting in the literature for men, especially for vascular effects, but the effect for women was to have more and better orgasms.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, before Dr. Ramali asked his question, one thing I didn't tell you, when we were doing our studies, one of my friends who has been married for almost 8 years, they were not having children. I started giving him fish oil. About 6 or 8 months later, he called me, Martin Paul, it is in. It's in the oven. I'm like, what's in the oven? He said, my wife is pregnant. That boy is 10 years now. That is an N of 1. Dr. Anderson would say N of 1 is only significant when somebody dies or you give birth. So I can take that to the bank. Dr. Ramali?
Martin Paul, wonderful talk as usual.
Thank you.
You mentioned elongase 4, and I know you know a lot about elongase 2.
Right.
And elongase 2 is one of the best biologic clocks of aging. So I wonder if male infertility as men get older relates to decreased activity of elongase 2, and whether older men who are trying to have children might benefit from very long chain PUFA supplementation.
That's a very good question. So we actually have the elongase 2 knockout animals we got from Dorota. Actually, that was the animals we used with your study as well. Yeah, so once you have the elongase 2, which is upstream of 4, it's just like the desaturase 2, you're going to have fertility problems. And that's perhaps as the reason why when we get older, our elongase 2 goes down, you decrease precursors, so you lose VLCP5, and that's probably why you get older, you are no longer in the mood, but fish would help you. Did I see another hand? All right, well, thank you all so much. And Linda, thank you for the organization and the invitation.